During the war with Iraq, our first guests were shot down over enemy territory and held as prisoners of war for 3 weeks before being rescued by the United States Marines. Please welcome Chief Warrant Officers David Williams and Ronald Young, Jr., ladies and gentlemen. Have a seat. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for everything. And I must say, you guys look pretty good. You feel pretty good?
Yes, sir, we do.
Why don't we just start by each of you telling us a little bit about yourselves, where you're from, and then how you got into the military and so forth. We'll start with you, Dave.
Well, sir, I was born and raised in Central Florida, and went to school, graduated high school, joined the Army immediately, did some time enlisted, and probably about 9 years into it, I said I got to put a flight packet in, and I've been flying ever since.
So how many years have you been in the Army?
12 years.
12 years. And Ron, how about you?
I'm from Douglas County, Douglasville, Georgia. Got out, did exchange to Japan for about 9 months. I was an exchange student in Japan. Went to college for a couple of years and decided I was sick of eating ramen noodles. So I joined the Army, and they asked me what I wanted to do, and I told them I wanted to fly. So.
And you've been in the Army now about 3 years, is that right?
Right at 4 years.
4 years? And how long have you guys been flying together?
Probably about 4 months before the...
And the rank, Chief Warrant Officer, what does that indicate?
We're nobodies.
Oh. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the experience. How long had you been commissioned for duty in Iraq? How long had you been there in the pursuit of the war?
Just over a month, sir.
Just about a month? And what was the mission you were on that night?
Attack.
And what was the target you were going to attack?
There was a
AAA school.
Yeah, ADA school, anti-aircraft school, and some armor pieces.
And how many helicopters were involved in that pursuit?
It was 18.
18. And it seems to me, and I don't know anything about the military, but it seems to me that a helicopter is a very vulnerable piece of military vehicle equipment. Is that true?
Yes, sir, it is. I mean, because we fly so low to the ground, maybe 100 feet, sometimes 50. I think we saw 30 feet that night.
Right.
A couple times.
We didn't know we were seeing 30 feet at the time we saw it, but... I mean, it's wild. It was a totally crazy experience. There's a lot of radio traffic trying to keep from running into somebody else, people shooting at you the whole time.
Was this, for both of you, your first combat experiences?
Yes, sir.
And it wasn't a very good one.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Now, how close did you get to the target when there was trouble?
Shoot, it was probably about...
A couple of Ks out,
yeah, a couple
kilometers.
clicks out.
And then what was the trouble? How was that represented?
Bullets.
All the bullets in the air.
They put up this wall of lead in front of us, and we were trying to fly up to make it to our EA, engagement area. And they pretty much cut us off from getting there, so we started doing traffic patterns. And there was really nothing we could do at that point. I mean, everybody pretty much converged on us, and just bullets coming from everywhere.
Now, if you guys were not in uniform, I would say you just look like regular American guys, but you guys have been shot at. Now, I've never been shot at.
Well,
I know folks at home sometimes maybe have tried to shoot at the screen, but can you tell me what that means, what that feels like, what that is, knowing that you're being shot at?
Good Lord. I mean, I did take a round across the top of my left foot and split my boot open, and it's not a very good feeling, you know.
That's what one of the guys told us. We're laying in a prison cell pretty much, and he looks over and he says, "Dave, I don't like being shot at."
I said, no. You wouldn't be right if you did.
But can you continue to function knowing you're being shot at?
It really, it took me, when I first realized that we were being shot at, of course, bullets going straight across our canopies and everything, I had to tell myself to start breathing again after about a minute and a half.
Right.
And it was the most intensely fearful part of my life. Just all you could think was, oh my God.
And how long did that most intensely fearful part of your life actually last? Was it like 5 minutes? Was it 10 minutes? Was it 2 minutes?
A long time.
It seemed like forever.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's almost to where the bullets are going in slow motion. Did you seem to? The bullets seem like they're going in slow motion. I mean, time stops.
And how was your helicopter disabled? What actually brought it out of the sky?
We lost the #1 engine. We lost a flight management computer, which controls the power steering, if you will, and the backup control system, and in addition to other miscellaneous things.
Right.
And a lot of smoke in the cockpit.
And from what altitude did you crash?
It was probably not even
100, 110 feet.
Was it a hard crash or not a hard crash?
Can't remember it. Neither one of us really even recall it. We were doing so much other stuff.
Yeah.
so focused on trying to keep it level to get on the ground
Right.
safely.
Okay, so now you realize that you're on the ground, and then what do you do? And guys are still after you, I suppose, right?
Run like hell.
Yeah.
We were on the ground and they were shooting at us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
really
couldn't
were.
see us, but they were taking shots at us.
And did you have any idea how many people were shooting at you once you were on the ground?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It just seemed like bullets were just coming from
Right.
everywhere. I mean,
Now, as part of your training, do you know what to do in these circumstances?
Yes, sir, we did.
And what are you supposed to do? Run like hell? Is that what the training is?
that's military training for you.
Yeah.
They leave it wide open.
But do you say, okay, let's go this way, let's go that way, or do you both just take off?
No, we stayed together, but we were just running as fast as we could.
You hit a canal, right? Which one of you went into the canal first? Yeah.
This is good.
And what was the theory there? Just to get it into the water and get to...
Well, I had to cross this. We were real hesitant about going in the water, so I took a step down in it and went up my shin. I was like, well, that'll be all right.
Yeah.
Next step, I was completely submerged.
He disappeared, and all I could think to myself was, Dave, quit messing around. This ain't the time. Like, I drug him out.
Will you stop that goofing around?
He was goofing on me. We're getting shot at, and he's goofing.
Now, how long were you guys on the run from the time you crashed to the time you were actually captured? Was it about 90 minutes?
Yes, sir.
And what was that like? It was just you were actually just being hunted, right?
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you were in an open field. There were farm animals involved in this somehow?
Well,
that's why we're flying.
the story behind that is I was engaging a target, and the only thing I remember looking on my FLIR was this donkey, this mule running down the road trying to get out from where I was shooting.
Yeah.
And he was kicking.
Like he was being stung by bees.
Yeah. And that's the funniest thing in the world, you know, that I
You
thought
could
about.
almost smile for a second.
Yeah. So in all of the trouble, you guys were actually able to recognize that as being something humorous, something funny?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And then you were finally captured by what? Was it civilians or was it members of the Iraqi army?
I believe it was a local militia. I mean, some people think it was farmers, you know. It's not like they came up on a tractor or anything,
Right.
you know. These guys had AK-47s and
Yeah.
And now when this happens, when you realize that there is no choice but you have to go with them, there is part of your training that comes to the front of your mind? You now are remembering what you were told to do? Does that happen automatically, kind of?
Well, initially it was just more fearing for our lives.
Right.
And, but eventually, yes, once we collect our thoughts and training.
Did you think you would be killed at any moment?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And as the captivity goes on, do you think the chance of being killed is less or greater? How does that work in your mind?
It really depends on what you're talking about. Because in the beginning, I mean, you're getting shot at in the sky, and you got a pretty good chance there.
Right.
The crash, when they take you in, you got a pretty good chance when the bombs are falling. We had bombs hit a building behind ours and blow bricks in on top of us. And
Some in the wall.
some in the wall. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just...
And do you have any idea why you were not killed?
God.
Had
Really?
to be.
Yeah, okay. I tell you what, we got to take a break here. We'll be right back with the David Williams and Ronald Young Jr. Officers David Williams and Ronald Young Jr. Okay, so do you guys mind talking about this a little more?
Sure.
So we've established that you've been taken into custody now, and it was some sort of a local militia, that kind of thing, and then they turned you over to the Iraqi army?
Yes, sir.
And did any of these people speak English?
No, not initially.
But finally somebody spoke English, and what kind of things would they say to you? What was the interrogation like? Was there an official interrogation?
Yes, sir.
What did they say to you? What were they talking about?
Well, initially they were more curious about our mission, where the forward line of the American troops were, and what units that we were associated with, and who all was involved, what other units.
And when somebody asks you questions like that during a war, what do you reply? How are you instructed to behave?
Well, you don't want to lie to them, but you don't give them the whole truth.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't know. I was just out flying around.
Right.
Yeah.
And they had actually gone through the wreckage of your helicopter and found various things, and they were asking you about those items. Was that part of it?
Yeah.
I went in there first. It was kind of funny. I went in there, and they're asking me, or they go through this long, drawn-out speech about, you crashed in, you brought these things to a sacred city of whatever the name of this place was where we crashed. I have no idea. And the whole world knows about it. Arabic nations, as Christians, everyone knows that this is a holy city that I've never heard of in my entire life.
Right.
And he tells me that I bring whiskey and pornography.
Really?
With me. Mm-hmm. And all I could think was Dave was holding out on me. I just spent a month and a half. I just spent a month and a half in Kuwait with absolutely nothing, and Dave's got whiskey in the aircraft, and I didn't even know about it. And then he's got pornography, so they bring out these CDs, and they open them up, and they point to the Mexican, and they say, pornographic CD. And I'm like, that's Julia Robertson. She doesn't even get naked.
Yeah.
So they flip it over and they point to 101 Dalmatians and say, pornographic cartoon.
Yeah.
And at this point, I knew that they were just doing this as far as TV, Al Jazeera and all that. And they flipped the page again, and it was American Pie 2. And they were like, pornographic material. And I said, well. But the lesbians are hot.
Now, was some of this stuff actually taken from the helicopter?
It was.
It was.
I lost 80 DVDs. I'm sure they're watching them right now.
I'm just glad he didn't have pornography.
Yeah. Well, you know, they were filming this, and I was thinking, my wife, she's going to kill me, you know. I don't have no pornography.
And how were you guys treated generally? I mean, obviously there's some funny things to talk about now. But how were you treated by the captors?
Humane, yes. Did they follow Geneva Convention? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, it was pretty rough, but as time went on and they realized that they were getting their butt kicked by the Americans. Our treatment got much better.
Yeah. Were you guys tortured? Were you beaten? Were you roughed up? Any of that?
Initially. I didn't get as much as Ron did.
And I was mad about that. I held a grudge for a little while. I just couldn't believe it. Every time, I mean, they would just haul off and smack me across the back of the head with a stick or something like that, and I would just get so upset because Dave wasn't getting hit. What did I do to deserve this?
And were you always together when you were incarcerated?
No, we were isolated.
And you were moved around from facility to facility, is that right?
Like 7 times.
Yeah.
Yes.
And why were they moving you?
They were getting their butts kicked.
Yeah, they didn't want to be caught with us when the music stopped.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you lost a great deal of weight in the 21 days?
25 pounds.
Oh, my God. And what would they feed you?
Water, rice.
Rock hard bread. I just feed it to birds.
Yeah.
Bounce it against the cell wall.
Yeah. And could you develop any kind of a relationship with these people? Was there anything sympathetic about them?
They really didn't want to interact with us very much. Now, towards the end, the last 3 were probably the most humane to us.
Right.
And they would sit down and talk with us.
And where did you find the emotional strength to go on hour after hour, day after day? Where does that come from?
Praying. We prayed a lot, and I mean, we were kind of trained for this, and we know that this is something that could happen when we go into this situation. So, I mean, it's all about war, you know.
And you were with other POWs during this incarceration?
Roger.
Yes.
We were with the other 5.
Yeah. Now tell us about the rescue. This in and of itself is also a bit of a miracle, isn't it?
Yes, it is. What happened was, I guess there had been rumored that Americans were kept in the city of Samarra, and one of the locals, an Iraqi, went up to some Marines that were in the area that were passing through, clearing the city, and the commander, bless his heart, he took it upon himself, didn't call up the higher chain of command, And he said, you know what, if there's a possibility guys are there, with regard to ambush, we're going to go get them.
Because it could have been an ambush, or they could have been
Absolutely.
set up, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And when they kicked in the door, it was hard to control your emotions.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. It was about 15 Marines, and they came and they swarmed to the facility you guys were in?
Yes, sir.
And what did they say the first time they came through the door?
Get down.
Yeah, and that meant everybody, the guards as well?
Everybody, it didn't matter
Yeah.
who.
And what was that experience like for you to see the guard just all of a sudden on the ground?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just that kind of guy. I like that. Let him get on the ground for a little while.
I know. And what did the Marines say to you as they were taking you away from the facility? What was that relationship like?
Well, at first they wanted to get us out there and kind of sort us out and then find out exactly who we were.
Right.
Because they didn't know. And they were emotional as well.
Right.
When they realized who we were.
They said we pretty much made the war for them. So, I mean, that was the greatest thing they had done up to that point, through all the battles, everything that they've been through up to then.
What will you gentlemen do now?
We're going to get back on the horse.
Is that right? You'll be
Absolutely.
flying again soon?
Absolutely.
Hopefully we won't fall off again.
Yeah. Obviously, this is a life-changing experience. What have you learned from this situation? What did you take from this? What do you have with you now that you didn't have before?
Well, it's you learn a lot about yourself and how far you can really go, and to have faith and just keep driving on. It's an incredible experience.
Yeah, Ron?
Same thing. A greater love for life. Cherish each day, of course. I mean,
Well, congratulations. God bless you. Nice job. Good to have you back. Thank you for everything. David Williams and Ronald Young Jr., ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with Jada Pinkett Smith.